Hey guys, welcome back to I'm an Actor, Not a Therapist. My name is Sammy. So, what's going on? So, as an artist, you think a lot about where your self-worth lies when it comes to your art. And I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of mine who is wonderful, who is joining me today. He has 1.8 million followers on TikTok and thousands more across other social media platforms, with a strong stage career on the Irish panto stage in roles such as Peter Pan and Gaston. He is known as the TikTok Tamlin and Irish Mammy, and has cultivated a community of love, acceptance, and inner growth with his powerful affirmations. And on a personal note, was the first person in a long while to tell me I was worth something and lead me to finding the wonderful community of friends I now have. Welcome to the show, Stuart Mackey. Hi.
Hey, how are we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm quite touched by that intro. Thank you so much. You do realize that you are worth more than what some weird Irish guy ever says.
I realize that now because of you, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I listened to your affirmations for a good year before we started talking. And then...
Well, I'm glad they helped you.
Very, very much so, actually. So, you put two crazy actors in a room together, and we're going to talk about crazy careers. So...
And a lot of falling and weird kind of Three Stooges sound effects.
Absolutely, because, how else do you run theater? How else do you do it?
I don't know, with a helmet and hopefully no flats.
With a helmet and you hope for the best, right?
And hopefully you don't walk into a wall thinking it's a fucking door.
Whack wall.
It only happened once, guys. It only happened once.
They didn't let me go home that night.
They didn't let me go home.
I was so close, no, nobody let Sammy leave. She whacked her head too hard today.
She's not allowed to go home. She's not allowed to sleep. Just stick the helmet on her and hope for the best.
Right? Okay, who's on Sammy watch first? Oh my gosh, it's too funny. It's funny because it's true. So let's start with, how did you even get into performing?
Performing itself? I'd say like most school kids, you have extracurricular activities, and we had speech and drama. Mm-hmm. And here in Ireland, we do stuff called the Féiles, which is you'd almost like poetry and acting competitions for little kids. Oh. And every school would have their own little speech and drama class after school. And my first play ever in my... I can't actually even say my first play because I never made it to the stage. So we were doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? And I was the sleepy dwarf, and I only had one freaking line for the whole thing. But I knew that line off by heart, and then came the day of the show, and I completely forgot my parents that I was meant to be in Snow White. So on the day of the show, it just turned into Snow White and the Six Dwarfs. And they're like, where the freak is Stuart? Probably. But I always just loved performing itself, and getting to do these Féiles and these competitions. You were always, taught to read poetry, perform to an audience. And I loved that environment, trying to cultivate that self-confidence that I didn't have in myself at that age. But I could have it on stage, which was interesting. It's like you flipped a switch. And I kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how many actors literally are two different people. On stage, they're one, I'm going to command the stage and everybody look at me, and then you walk off stage and they can't even hold a conversation because they're just socially awkward or socially anxious.
Oh, I just made a new shirt called Being a Socially Awkward Butterfly. Join the club. I think it's brilliant.
Nice.
But yeah, it's do you not think that comes down to the fact that when you're off stage, when you're not performing, you have so much going on, but when you are on stage, you basically are putting on the guise of another person, another entity. And that's actually who you're showing, more so than yourself. Even if you put yourself into the character, you are a completely different person, different entity, different being.
Yeah, you're telling us somebody
That's why it
else's
seems so
story.
different. Yeah.
I've been saying this for years. Theater is a great place to hide.
I'd actually flip that and say theater is a great place to shine. And I don't mean shine as in like shine under a spotlight in the starring role being a star. I mean, it's a great place to find yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the thing with acting and theater, for those out there that are not aware, you either really love it or you really hate it. There's like no in between. There's either you love being on the stage or you want to run screaming. But for those of us that love it, like, we love it. I mean, I can't see myself doing anything else, if that makes sense.
It does. I think it goes more so into performing itself, not just acting. Like you're a director, you're a writer, you're a podcaster, you're everything under the sun. It's about performing and creating art more so than just like acting itself.
Yeah, that's true. It's the whole creative atmosphere of it, of being in that theater or in front of that camera and just everybody building the same thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's building the same thing, building the art, the final product, having that community. I recently did a few courses up in the Lear, which is one of the colleges for acting here in Ireland, but it also does stage management, lighting design, stagecraft, all that. But I think I spent a solid hour literally just talking with people, not performing, not training. We were literally just talking about the craft itself, and you felt so at home because you were with your people, you were with your community, you had your space.
And it's something that people that aren't in this world kind of don't understand, that you can walk, you can be somebody on the street and then walk into a theater and your shoulders drop 4 feet.
There we
because
go. Yeah.
You're in your space, you're in your element, and this is the place where you know that you belong, because there's this great sense of, you belong here in theater, and it's a place where it's indescribable what it's like to actually know that you helped to create something literally out of nothing.
You mean off pen and paper? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It also comes down to the fact that losing the weight off your shoulders, you get to express yourself in theater a lot more than you would in everyday life. And if you learn that as a child, that theater is a place where you are safe to, feel your feelings and process certain things, even in a different character, it does help you grow as a person, as an individual. But then that helps mentally for you to say, I have a safe haven in this space, or when I'm in this theater backstage, in the changing rooms, in the wings.
Yeah.
It's a mentality.
It is. And it's amazing how much we live our life in the theater if we're in theater. Like, how many emotional breakdowns have I had backstage? Before a show, with the cast all around me going, are you okay? Do you want some water? Like, are you gonna be good in like 10 minutes or so? Like,
Sammy, is this an emotional breakdown, or is this just being in character?
Exactly.
Do we need to get the football helmet again? What's the story here, girl? What's the story?
It's like when the actors start giving you side eye, it's like, maybe I've gone too far. Maybe.
Or it's like, where the hell is Stuart? I don't know, he's either curled up in the fetal position under the props table, or he forgot he had his show today. We don't know.
Flip a coin, somebody go find him.
Someone shake a can of Monster, he'll come running.
I actually bought my first can of Monster the other day. It's in my fridge.
It's still in your fridge. What is wrong with you? Drink that shit.
I'm going to. I'm going to make it into a video. I'll tag you. I'll tag you in it. Or you'll just get this random video.
My first can of Monster, and it's like you opening the can, taking a sip. Next thing we just see you like doing satanic rituals on your ceiling.
It's like, well, I gotta go get her down now. Before she hits
we
her
just
head.
see the corpse of the Hinge guy in like his Green Lantern shirt. He's still wearing it.
Yes. So in theater, a lot of what people don't understand is that a lot of us, you become this different person when you're on stage, but a lot of us are, like, we have anxiety and we have depression and we have social anxiety and we have all these things that out in the real world we kind of have to deal with, but then still create art. How do you channel your anxiety and your stress back into your craft?
Elaborate on that question. What do you mean, channel it back into my craft?
So, like, I've heard things like, if you're anxious before an audition, use it for your audition. Or, one time when I was going through a low, I had to play a character that tried to commit suicide on stage, and I took all of my nervous everything and threw it into the scene. Something along those lines, where you were able to, like, use the anxiety and the stress and everything else you don't want to deal with and put it right out there.
In terms of stress and anxiety for a performance or an audition, in terms of stress and anxiety for a performance or an audition, it's more so a case of cultivating the mindset and realizing to change your words will change your perspective on the situation. So if I do feel stressed doing a performance, or I feel stressed having to do a piece for someone, worrying about what they're going to think or judge, I would change that nervous energy into a positive one, like excitement. If I feel very stressed or I feel very scared about what's going to happen, I'm excited, I'm invigorated. And in terms of, the very low days when we still have to create and to perform, when we just don't have the energy to do it, it's not so much a case of putting that back into my art. It's more so a case of going through it because it's for art. Like you, I once had to play a very depressed and suicidal character. The issue was I was at a very low point in my life, and I thought it would be very good to use this emotion that I'm feeling right now and put it into the character because it'll make it more authentic. And it did. It made some of the scenes very, very heart-wrenching for not only the audience, not only for me, but for other characters on stage. But then I found that was quite detrimental to my mental health, because I would come off stage like absolutely emotionally and physically drained. And I didn't realize the impact that was having on me. When you do, I think it's like anything, your mental health is worth so much more than the art itself. And if you feel like it's derailing you, you need to shift your perspective or take a step back and analyze the situation. I would be very weary of putting too much dark emotion from my personal experience into a performance just for my own safety.
Right. So
I'm not mad into method acting anymore. Like, I wouldn't go Jared Leto kind of style, or
right.
Yeah.
It's just don't hit the button that you probably haven't talked about out loud yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've definitely done that, and I definitely might have trapped an actor backstage while I had a breakdown, and I may or may not have tried to clock him across the face one day.
That is something we don't do.
No, it would be
backstage people.
Yeah, it would be bad. But I got so lost in the character, you have that moment where you forget who you are and who the character is, and I went like this to like whack him because we were in the middle of a fight on stage, and he like grabbed my hand. He goes to the director, "Can we open before she actually hits me?" Because she just almost hit me. we need to open now. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I remember one time when an actress got very enveloped into a character that we were playing, and we were both lovers in a scene, and the issue was like we were both very, very close outside of it, and it was a case of before performance she would be, okay, we need to be very intimate, so it seems very intimate on stage, to the point where it actually was like, we need to set boundaries. This is a performance. Right. This makes me very uncomfortable. I'm going to take a step back. until it's necessary or needed. And they were freaking married, and I was like, girl,
Oh.
take 3 steps back. I'm currently trying to question my sexuality, and you're not helping the situation right now.
Oh my gosh. Gotta love a showman's. or what you wanted to be a showman's.
What you wanted to be a showman, and I was like, keep the character for the character.
Yeah.
But it is a thing of like shifting your energy and remembering, use this for the performance. If you want to enhance performance, there is like proper and ethical ways to do it if all parties involved are willing. Mm-hmm. It's about harnessing that energy. Like you were saying, like you were going to clock this person. Could you imagine how invigorating holding that energy was?
Yeah. That when we finally were able to like do it on stage and I didn't hit him, it made the rest of the scene more powerful because I was keeping that part of it in. Mm-hmm. It made my complete and total breakdown, which I think I have a video of somewhere on my website, made it that much more heart-wrenching because the audience the audience at that point was waiting for that to happen. And when it didn't happen, it was, the shock and awe of it. Oh my gosh, it didn't happen. So that was fun. So we, again, we're talking about like anxiety and things like that. And like when we're off stage and when we're people and not actors. Because I know that for myself personally, there have been moments where I've looked at an audition notice and gone, I just can't. I cannot get out of bed. I just can't do this. How do you balance your anxiety and the need to audition and put yourself out there for your craft? Because theater is and acting in general is I need to be in front of people to do this kind of craft.
I think and this only happened maybe in the last couple of years, is I no longer see acting as another side to my life. I am an actor. So my life is, when I wake up, I'm an actor. Mm-hmm. When I go to bed, I'm an actor. When I shower, when I use the toilet, when I jump into the lake, I'm always going to be an actor. So when I have to audition, when I don't have the energy, when I'm very socially conscious and anxious, I put that aside. Because this is my time to be able to perform for people. And the thing is, when you go into any audition room with any casting director, whoever's in that room, they see you as potentially the person that they can cast. Something I recently talked with a casting director, quite a lovely woman here in Ireland, was she goes, whoever we audition, we might audition 500 people for a role or an advert a week for this one role. But out of that 500, we've probably seen 1,000 submissions. If you're in the room with us, we think that you have the potential to be there. All we're looking for then in an initial audition is give us the best you can do. And if you get the call back, give us the best you can do. We want to see a good performance every time. And you as an actor should never be worried about the rejection. All you need to worry about is giving your best performance, because that's what we want from you. We want to cast you. So I'm no longer scared of the anxiety or the stress of doing auditions, because they're like the mini performances for me. They are performances. When I'm depressed and when I'm stressed and when I am just low in myself, it does need to take a step back, because I'm an actor. When I'm stressed and depressed, I can't stop that. And I can't stop the hold on, wait. I had this perfectly in my head. I'm an actor whether or not I'm depressed or stressed, and I will be stressed and depressed when I'm an actor, because the two go hand in hand. I am the two of... Oh, shut up, Stuart. Come on. You can do this, man. Boing, boing. It's not a case of dividing one from the other and trying to balance it. It's a case of you will always feel these emotions. There's nothing you can do. You're a biometric organism, so you just need to either put it aside for a few moments while you give the performance, or you accept it and push through it, is basically what I'm trying to say. That's out of that convoluted sentence. You just have to fucking push through it.
No, and that totally makes sense. And what the casting director said to you totally makes sense. I took a class once where the person teaching the class, he wasn't a casting director, he was another actor. And somebody asked him, how do you get over audition nerves? He goes, the casting director has a problem and they want you to solve their problem so they can go to lunch.
Yeah, that's it. That's basically it. The casting director sees you as a potential win.
Mm-hmm.
You're in that room for a reason. Show them why you're in that room.
Exactly. And if you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room.
And yeah.
That was probably one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given, was looking at the casting process a different way.
You can never... I think the biggest thing about an audition room isn't so much the actual performance or the casting itself. It's looking at all the people around you who are your competition, and two, who might look very similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize, oh, this is why they chose me, X, Y, and Z. The community, like we were talking about earlier, when it comes to being an actor and a performer, you should always be hoping for these people to succeed as much as you want yourself to succeed, because this is such a hard industry where rejection is 99.8%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should lift each other up as well as, work hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't hold stress and contentment when we see who we are up against half the time.
Yeah. If you don't make...
I went to...
Mm-hmm.
No, go on.
I'll say, if you don't make the casting list, just don't look at the casting list. Just keep going.
Yeah. I went to an audition recently, and there was a singing call, and then I had to do a dance call and an acting call. And even though I'm not a strong singer, I was strong in the dancing. And what it came to was, people were hyping you up, in pre-audition for singing. People were hyping you up for the dance call and the acting call. I was like, okay, yeah, you got this. We were helping each other out with the phrases, the steps, the notes, the scenes. It's like, okay, do you want to go over your lines? Yeah, but do you want to go over yours? Yeah, we can work on it. It's all about just helping, trying to be a nice person
Mm-hmm.
in that audition room.
Mm-hmm.
Even being a polite person, you de-stress yourself.
Absolutely. It's this attitude that we're talking about right now, at least I feel, is drastically a very different outlook on things than what we as actors might have thought about before the pandemic.
Oh God,
it's like night and day.
I'm pretty sure before the pandemic I was a tall Sharpay Evans.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I would literally push you down the stairs for the role.
Yeah.
Or, well, I don't need to push you down the stairs, you'll just fall off the flat.
I'll just fall. It'll be fine.
But then again, I'll fall down the stairs, I'll trip on myself. I'll fall down the stairs, you'll fall up the stairs. It'll be like, Sammy needs a helmet, and Stuart, what are you doing here? Wasn't your play at half one? You're in the wrong theater, Stuart. What are you doing here? And I'll just be like, oh shit, crap.
You made the call time, but you're in the wrong place.
Sammy takes time to get ready. Stuart, I'm here, aren't I? Walk on stage.
There you go.
Could you imagine if we did a two-man play? It would literally just be dead silence for the first 10 minutes. You would have knocked yourself out trying to get on stage, and I would have forgot where the stage was.
The audience would have been super confused.
Oh, it's one of these avant-garde pieces. Maybe we're meant to look into the space and just feel the void of our... I don't know what I'm saying. Shut up, Stuart.
So what was your most challenging role that you've done, and why?
That I've performed. That's a good question. So I'm about to perform this really cool character, which I can't talk about yet. But it's a very, very challenging, demented character, but he's very justified in his actions. Not so much the execution, but because I haven't performed that yet, we won't talk about it. I think the hardest character I ever had to play was one called the Mechanic. And that was basically his name. It was from a play by Will Elno, Middletown. And what made this character very difficult was how much I related to him, and not in the best ways. For a lot of actually his demonizing nature. And the director, when I said, I can't play this role, I come off stage and I feel very demoralized. And this was after a point where, I didn't know how to detach my personal emotions and background from a character, and I was using it to fuel the performance. And she sat me down and we were talking through it, and she was like, you resonate so much with this character. You're allowed to put yourself into him, but just don't use your own experiences to fuel his. And I think through the rehearsal period, he grew on me, but to try and play a character where it almost felt like I was just looking in a mirror being like, yeah, you've done this, yeah. You've done this, yeah. You've done this. Yeah, look how crappy his life has turned out. This will be you. It was very much like holding the future in front of me, and it was scary to think that this character had this effect on me. That's what made him difficult. It was like, if I keep going down the road I'm on, I will turn into the Mechanic. Oof. Yeah, but to be honest, it was like a brilliant show, brilliant performance, and the director was like, that's exactly who the Mechanic is right there. After one of the performances, I was like, fuck yeah. Another hard character was trying to be hyper realism. Have you ever performed anything in a hyper realism setting? No, it's quite, everything is over dramatic, not so much to the point of pantomime, but everything is up in arms. And when it comes to trying to perform a hyper realistic comedy, it's either going to be funny or it's not. And deadpan is not in the scope of what the play was, which was Arms and the Man. Everything was like very campy. I just couldn't do it at all. Like, I was very deadpan in my humor, and I think the director was tearing their head out at one point, being like, Stuart, please do something.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like when you think you're funny and you're good at comedy, and then a director just goes, Stuart, oh my God, I've seen more life in the mortuary.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's always a good note to give to a director. Dead people are funnier. Work on it.
Do you know Robin Williams? Yeah, he's in his grave, and I still find him funnier than you right now.
Right? Oh, no. He's performing better than you. Come on, man. Step it up. Step it up, dude. So, you and I are kind of in a really unique situation in that we've both performed on stage, and we both, perform essentially on social media. And talk about this difference in like the instant gratification you get doing stage work versus like the instant gratification you get from, say, putting a video up on TikTok or social media in general.
The instant gratification is not something to really chase, or something I haven't chased in ages. But acting on social media came about because of the pandemic. Like a lot of us, we thought the industry was going to be dead. And this is when the boom of POVs and duet acting challenges, You Are the Blue Line, all this, Eliana Glenn, Chris Barnett blew up from this. They kind of led the forefront of these acting videos on TikTok specifically. And then a lot more actors were realizing, they needed to shift not only from just being in the audition and on the stages and trying to be in TV, but move everything to social media. And people were performing more scenes, short form content, creating their own content. And we saw the boom in what is essentially now UGC creation and, all these new content creators and how artistic they can be and the development of being an actor online. But I never got instant gratification from being on stage since I actually understood what it meant to be a performer. Like, there was a time I was and I always talk about this, very narcissistic and egotistical. I needed to be not only the lead, I needed to be the star, I needed to be in the center stage. That's when I got the dopamine hit, that instant gratification. I think there's more gratification in knowing that you've resonated with your audience, you've made them laugh or cry or weep, or they understand what you're trying to do and perform. And on social media, I think if I can make someone smile or laugh or cringe in the space of a 5-second video, 10-second video, that's great. But I'd say even if you look at my numbers now, like, a lot of my numbers are completely down compared with what they used to be, because I don't chase the view count anymore as much as I just want to make content that I know is going to be funny for as many people as possible that would enjoy it. Going viral isn't what gives me gratification, instant gratification, I guess. Just the idea of trying to create every day. Did that make any sense? I'm sorry if it didn't.
No, it absolutely does make sense. It absolutely does make sense. And I remember when I first started out on TikTok, because again, I wound up on TikTok the same way you did, like, oh crap, where'd my stage go? And I remember talking to you really, really early on, and I was like, I don't understand, like, my numbers. And I remember you look me in the eye and you're like, fuck the numbers. Don't even look at them. Don't even look at them.
Even like it depends like what sphere you're in. If you're an influencer or a social media entity, of course your numbers matter, everything, like in terms of creating revenue. But when it comes to like creating, maybe art, just a couple of funny videos, goofy videos, it shouldn't be a case of chasing the views or the likes. It should be a case of chasing, the fulfillment in yourself. Like, I know it sounds like so stupid, having fulfillment from doing a trend, but if it makes you happy, that should be the end goal.
Right. Absolutely. If I get that creative charge from, say, throwing on my bell gown and duetting one of your Gaston videos, like, I win.
Exactly.
No matter what that little number in the corner says. Does the little number make you smile? Yeah, of course it's going to make you smile, because you reached however many thousands or millions of people. But at the end of the day, like, if you put yourself into the creative process like that, and it's for that 30-second video, well, then I think you win. No matter what that little freaking number says.
I think the best thing about social media right now is the fact that when it comes to being a creator or an actor or a director, videographer, whatever you want to call yourself, is that if you're going to create a piece and it's a really good piece that you put a lot of time and effort and dedication to, and it's good quality product, even from being 5 seconds to a minute long, 2 minutes, you don't know who's going to see that on social media. And someone could be interested in what you're able to develop, in your creativity, in your acting, your style, and you don't know what opportunities that could lead to. I mean, the amount of freaking cool connections I've made from Tamlin videos or fairy tales or acting challenges or reading or the affirmations, like even connecting for this podcast. Like, how do we connect from acting videos?
Right.
It resonates. If you can resonate with people in whatever form, it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. So going back to social media and going back to TikTok and stuff, the community that you've cultivated is very familiar with your Irish mammy character. She's a hoot, man. How in the world did she come to be? And did you expect her to pick up the popularity that she has?
No, not at all. She came from 3 avenues at once. So we were talking about him earlier, Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire. That was a main drive behind this. I had created a series called Welcome to Ireland, and why do so many people want to come to Ireland? And I realized, and this comes back to the marketing side of my brain, is like there was this whole kind of niche that no one was tapping into in terms of Irish comedy, specifically for people in the USA who love Ireland. And then I was thinking, like, how can we give them some of the comedy skits that we have here? Because we have shows like Father Ted, and we have the Mrs. Brown's Boys. And Mrs. Brown, have you ever heard of that character?
I've actually seen it on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, she is a national freaking treasure. You can clearly tell it's a man in a wig and a skirt. And the same thing with Robin Williams. I thought these characters were so funny. And then there was this creator, and he's really cool stuff. He's so creative on social media, and he's also a cinematographer called Brody Wellmaker. And he did a series called I think it was like My Mother and Me, or it's like being the mother of a social media influencer. And it was so good because like all these trends that everyone was doing to try and go super viral, you had his child character do them, and the mother would always just be there calling him out on stuff. Can you hear my cats jingling in the corner?
I can hear Pip, yeah.
It's that
adorable.
Is that distracting to you? Do you want me to pop him outside?
Nah, he's fine.
So I took that idea of like, I asked, initially Irish Mammy came about because I said, Mom, do you know the way there's the Mrs. Brown? Yeah. And do you know the way I do the Irish videos? Yeah. Do you want to do them with me? Stuart, I'm not going to be in your videos at all. Oh, it'll be so good, like you and me and the Irish Mammy. And look, there's this guy, and he pretends to, like to be his mother, and he does all these videos. And she was like, Stuart, you are not getting me in your videos. If you want to do an Irish Mammy, you are going to get yourself a curlers or whatever you want, and you're going to dress up like a woman, and you're going to do it because you're not going to get your mother and embarrass her. And I was like, okay. So I got the curlers, I dressed up as a woman, and I started doing the videos. I think the first video I did was actually to spite my mother, where I was doing like a thirst.
I can tell you what your first one was.
I was doing the thirst trap.
No.
My first one. What was my first one?
Because I did a deep dive on you. Your first one was It's a Fine Stretch. Before you had the costume.
That wasn't even like an idea for the Irish Mammy. That was literally just like an Irish video, because I had a whole like book of just Irish sketches done, and I'd like all these characters that were going to come out, and just time got away from us. But then we developed the actual Irish Mammy character, and that's where that came from. But yeah, during the month of March, I think it was the St. Patrick's thing, like I definitely fell heavily into the Irish stereotypes for that month.
Yeah, because I did a bit of a let's go back and see how far we can go back.
Yeah.
And I definitely found the original, like, because I think the next video you came out with, you had the costume, but the one that I'm talking about ends in Declan, get me the wooden spoon.
Declan, get me the wooden spoon. It's a fine stretch. Oh, for God's sake.
Yep, that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Again, all conversations like I've actually had with my mother.
Oh, that's fun. He's so fascinated. I love it.
The cat?
Yeah.
I think he's just like, Stuart, why aren't you asleep yet? I'm meant to be curled up on your face right now.
Aww.
I can't close my bedroom door. I get such anxiety with him. Like his bed is outside, but I won't stop him from coming inside.
Right. No, of course not. So you and I are both also writers. I've heard your work. whether it be Irish Mammy or you had a series for a while called Happy Thoughts, and most recently your poetry now. Is there a different kind, talking about that gratification, is there a different kind of gratification you get when people respond positively to, say, a character you've created versus a character you just kind of play on stage and make it yours?
I don't think there's more gratification in doing one over the other, because essentially you make both your own. I do like writing. I wish I had more time to write, but I get distracted quite easily. But I don't, and I think this is just me and my brain, I don't really understand why people aren't able to do what we do in terms of creating and writing like that, because I've now taken on another kind of job whenever we go out filming, where people want me to do the interviews and ask the questions, because apparently I'm just really good with my words, and I think that's just me as a person. I'm very loquacious, and I just like doing it. So I never understand how people say, it's difficult to write TV shows or to write episodes for their series or to do poetry. I don't even know if that answered your question. I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Okay. It made sense, at least.
I like to write and I like to perform other characters if the characters are written well.
Right.
And I think you just have more power in writing your own characters. You know what you like.
Exactly. Or you know what you don't like and you throw it in the character anyway.
I never mind things I don't like about a character. If the character is written well, I usually will take the character's flaws and run with them. But if a character is written badly and there's nothing to develop on, then it's almost like, digging a hole for the sake of digging a hole. You're not digging a hole for the treasure.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever played a character that was just like so two-dimensional and you're like, there is no development on this? There's no purpose of this character. Yeah. Those characters are heartbreaking to play.
They are, and as an act, I've gotten a couple of scripts like that, because the theater that I was just recently part of was a playwrights theater, so they only did original work. So I saw a lot of work that really wasn't ready for human consumption yet.
The issue with that is, and this goes back to writing, I think everyone has the ability to write, so long as you also have the ability to take criticism from people who can help you develop your work.
Right. And that's why, like, as the playwright part of me is like, that's why I'm always like, hey, you want to do another reading of this, because I got feedback and I changed it and now I need to hear it again. It's part of the process of doing the work and being the writer and stuff, which is always fun. And then you Sophie's Choice your lines and get rid of the things that didn't work, and the attachment is real sometimes.
The attachment can be very real until you go into your first performance, and then during the next show you realize that they stripped 4 pages out and you're like, why did these go? We finally realized they didn't work, and you're like, we said that 2 months ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, but I didn't hear you until I actually heard you say the lines out loud.
Yeah, until I saw it actually fully performed. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you hold on to it too much, it's not gonna work.
No, God, no. I've definitely, for myself, I've learned that. I have a piece that I'm still trying to make work 10 plus years later. I don't know if it's ever gonna actually see daylight, because I don't know if I can make it work. Do you feel that we as artists tie a lot or even any of our self-worth into the work we produce or the performances we give?
I think you should always tie your self-worth into the performance you give for yourself, not for other people wanting to accept you. If you know you gave the best performance you could give, why should you seek the acceptance or adoration of other people, unless you're working to benefit the company or the community or the director and the theater itself? Never worry about other people. Like, opinions are subjective. Everyone is either going to like, hate, or have their own views on how you've performed. Have you ever come? One thing I find interesting, especially about actors, is you will come off stage, and everyone will have an opinion about how you played your role. But if you come off stage as a dancer, unless you're another dancer, rarely will you get critiques from people who are not in that environment. And if you come off stage as a singer, rarely will you get proper critiques besides, you sounded flat or pitchy from people who aren't singers. But everyone has an opinion on how you acted as a character, even if you've never stepped foot into a theater or you've never watched TV. It's the interesting of the three art forms in that perspective. Everyone will have an opinion and they will think it's completely valid. No one's opinion about your performance should be more valid than yours, though, and you shouldn't tie your value system to an external entity.
That makes sense. I think that a lot of us as actors sometimes get caught up in that. I mean, I know, like, I came up with the concept for this show because that's kind of where I was sitting for a while. This whole thought process of, just like, because you and I are sitting here talking, oh, Stuart liked my video, so Stuart's friends. Stuart likes me. Kind of, that's how I was, not you specifically, but we're sitting here talking, but, somebody likes a video that I put up. Somebody goes on my YouTube and sees one of the plays I've written that I put on YouTube, and they go, oh, I really like this show. I'm like, oh, then they really like me. It took me a little bit to kind of separate it to the point where I'm now more of you like my art and that's great, but I have to like it too, kind of thing. And the external validation that we've been talking about of not getting yourself too into your own head about getting your self-worth from what your audience thinks. Somewhere along the line this makes sense.
Yeah, somewhere along the line.
Somewhere this makes sense. Somewhere this makes sense in all the words I just used. Cool. So, like, was there ever, I know that you and I have kind of touched on this, like, off air and stuff like that, but was there ever a piece of content that you've released that you almost didn't because of anxiety or anything?
No, a lot of the time. A lot of the pieces. I recently put up one where I did a Brazilian funk dance in a Tamlin costume, and it got such backlash. But at the same time, I had so much fun doing that, creating that content, learning the dance, finding the aesthetic, color grading, filming. It was so much fun. But so many people's opinions thought this was a horrible video, and I was thinking, yeah, that's your opinion, but if I had done that a year ago, I probably would have taken down the video. A lot of videos, probably have caused anxiety for what other people are going to think about it, but a lot of the time, they're just not the people I'm trying to make the videos for, and if they don't like it, fine, that's their opinion. End of the day, I can't tie my value system to how other people constantly see me. I want people to like me, but I'm not going to change who I am anymore to try and fit into other people's scopes. I think one of the most interesting things I've learned from social media is from playing all these characters on social media, or being this type of energy on social media, is that when people meet me in real life, they're like, you're actually really quiet. And I'm like, yeah, people have perspectives of who you are because of what you put up online. That unless they actually make a connection and know the real you, then they have an opinion about one piece of your life that lasts 15 seconds.
Okay, so have you ever had the opportunity to create an original character for stage or film that you didn't write? And do you feel there's an added pressure when doing so?
So we had an answer previously, and I can and now I can safely say yes. I have an original character that was written by another individual, and we have chatted, and we have developed it together, and has become my own, shall we say. And for lack of a better word, he is the accompaniment of Hannibal Lecter and the Joker from not the most recent one, but Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Oh gosh.
No, I need you, Sammy, and you, the listener, to think of those two, put them together, and try and come up with the idealisms behind what I'm trying to put together. I'm not going to give much away because this will not come out for a while, but it's very dark, but very, very energetic.
It's like dark psychological, like.
There's a lot of justification behind it, and you're like, he did some bad things, but like, was it really that bad? No, it was, yeah. My moral compass is fucked. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Wow. Okay then. That's just wow. Of all the characters, I would never think of the two of them together, but okay.
Mm-hmm. I know,
like,
right?
that's fucked up. That'll be awesome, but that's fucked up. Wow. Okay. Are there any characters you still carry with you or made you look at life differently?
Yes, and again, we had a different answer, and right now, this came back to me the second we stopped the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There was this character I never got to play twice. Twice I was cast in the productions, and twice I couldn't. The first time, I broke my leg. A bit of a reasonable answer as to why I couldn't play a character.
Yeah. Broken actor,
time,
can't do it.
talk to some directors. Give him a cane. We'll give the character a limb. But and the other time it just conflicted with other schedules, and I was so distraught because it was the character George Yolland from Translations by Brian Friel, which is all about the integration of the English language and Anglicization and I'm trying to say agriculture, but that's not the word. George Yolland, anyway, is this English character coming into Ireland and trying to repress our culture. Mm-hmm. But he develops a love for the culture and realizes like the freedom in it. And I stepped into his shoes. I stepped into them, and all of a sudden I accepted everything. I just was able to be this character. And I knew where he was coming from introspectively, interpersonally, where he was developing too, especially with his friendships, his animosity, his love interests. It was one character that I felt, if you changed the name to Stuart Mackey, you'd all say, yeah, that's Stuart, right there and then. I've never felt a truer sense of this character is authentically me, because I'm playing authentically myself.
Wow.
And then he gets massacred and dies in the second act.
And
spoiler. Yeah, there it is.
And there it is. Just when you found a character you can relate to, damn.
Most of my favorite characters get murdered, which is hilarious. Oh, I see another white can of monster there in your hand.
Yeah,
is that
number
the
3.
Same one? Number
No.
3.
Number 3. So I went to ShopRite, which is a grocery store, kind of like your guys' Tesco. And it was 3 for $7. So this is my third. What?
I'm trying to do the maths in my head. That's a terrible price. That's like...
Is it?
Oh my god. No.
No? Don't do that again?
No, don't.
Okay.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Currency. Like, no. Oh my god. I'm not even going to give you the equation of what like 3 of those cans would cost, like on a sale price, because you'll just be sad. Next question.
I probably would be sad. I didn't say I was a smart shopper. I said I fed myself. I was like, oh, this many for one price. Okay. Never breaking it down, but whatever. I feed myself. My fridge is full. Whatever. Is there any piece of content that maybe didn't get received the way you wanted, or that you thought it would? And what was it, if you can remember?
Oh, ridiculously, like an insurmountable amount of my content. I've put over 3,000 pieces on TikTok, over 400 on YouTube. Maybe, well, like I started Instagram back before like the content creation was a thing. I didn't realize I was a content creator back when content, yeah. But
Right.
too many pieces. But the most recent one, I did a Brazilian funk dance in the style of Tamlin from Akatar, Sarah J. Maas. This is your fault. Um, it was not received too well from people who did not understand why there was an Irish guy in a forest dancing and pushing his hips in certain directions. That was funny to me, and I read the comments now and I'm going like, that's okay. Yeah. Oh. Okay. And then I look on the profiles and I'm like, yeah, you can have your opinion. That's okay.
Yeah.
You're not an Akatar fan. If you're an Akatar fan, you would appreciate this freaking tumbling content.
Exactly. I feel like when you do like Tamlin stuff, it's literally for those of us that know the character. We just
Yeah.
know. We just know.
Sarah, I'm trying to push the fact that Tamlin is a broken character, not a villain, so where are my royalties, girl?
Oh God. Yeah, I remember seeing that video and I went, oh, is that what that dance looks like? If you could go back through your career so far between social media, stage, and film, are there any roles or content that you would change or take back?
Again, the exact same as previously. Everything I've put out, I've intentionally put out. It hasn't been impulsive. In terms of the actual content, there are certain times in a content creator's life, you know this yourself, where you will put out a piece for the sake of pointing out something every day on social media, and that could be a trend, it could be a lip sync, you could be something that you have in your drafts. But there's nothing I've unintentionally put out that I've said I should not have done that. There's always been a reasoning behind it, be it for the views, for the likes, for the actual, I want people to understand something about me personally, an acting piece of content, an affirmation piece of content, mental health awareness, fitness, etc.
How about for like stage or any parts for movies or anything like that?
Oh, plenty for movies, plenty for stage, where I've had to do like self-tapes. I've put it out there, given it to the cast, and I've been like, I'm watching that back now. Oh, boy.
Yeah, self-tapes belong in a special circle of hell, just saying.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to disagree with that, because self-taping, you put out your best piece that you think you have at that moment in time, and then you come back and you reflect, and then you see, maybe you have developed, or maybe you just see where the character dragged or lacked in certain aspects of the role, and maybe you just don't have enough context in terms of what the actual character was, and you went in a completely different trajectory, and now you're like, holy crap, I thought this character was as sweet as Maria von Trapp, and she actually turns out to be Helena Bowen Carter in Sweeney Todd. Very bad, reference there, but okay.
No, but well, I understand it. I want to play Mrs. Lovett in the worst way.
But that's the best way if it's the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I get you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Do you find it more so? We talk about having, lows and anxiety and depression and things like that. Do you find it more challenging to create during your lows, and how do you still create through them, or do you not, and just kind of allow yourself to kind of reset and regroup?
I don't think this is going to be a different answer, but no. Whether I have lows or I have highs, what's the best way to describe it? You have to push through it. It's a lot more painful when you're depressed and when you're completely anxious and you do not feel empowered in whatever day you're going through. But you can't grasp just onto the joyful moments or the serotonin or the days where you do feel the drive, because then you will be pining for those more. I feel it's a lot better to understand that you will have good days, you will have bad days. And if you want to do something that you're passionate about, you need to do it through both those types of circumstances. Whether or not you feel motivated enough, whether or not you feel empowered enough, whether or not you feel like you're good enough. And when I say that, I mean in every aspect of life. When it comes to a performance though, or a self-tape, get someone to critique it, analyze it, and say you can do better, or you have given your best performance for this particular circumstance. But other than that, if there's something you really want to do, you're going to have to realize you have to do it through the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of waffle. I apologize.
Oh, come on. We love a good waffle. We love a good waffle.
We talked about this before. I need to
we
add
did.
it into my diet, and I still haven't. I walk past them every day, and I'm just like, I cannot justify the calories for this fucking piece of bread. I will eat my tortilla.
There's a great, not here in Jersey. We have not gotten them yet. It's a place called Waffles and Dingus. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but they're little Belgian waffles that they then put like ice cream and stuff on top of it. And Mom and I went into the city one time, and she got me one. And I looked at her, I said, this how much of a bad idea this was, right? Like, this was just a terrible idea for me, because now I got to find them next time I come in.
Oh, okay, fine. It just sounds like terrible on your cholesterol. Like,
oh, yeah, no, I mean...
Day.
No, gosh, no. No, gosh, no. That's like a birthday thing in lieu of like me getting cake, because I don't really like cake. I'll get like a waffle with nonsense on it instead. Why not? But guys, thank you so much for joining the show today. Thank you, Stuart, for coming to hang. Guys, if you liked the episode, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, leave comments. It does help. Believe me, it helps. But until next time, y'all, thank you for coming to hang out on I'm an Actor, Not a Therapist. Have a great night.